Peekaboo!
Oh my God. Good evening, everyone. It's so good to see you. Ari, I feel like it's been like 5,000 years since I've seen you, but we've only taken 1 week off.
I know, and it was such a long week, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. I think that's how it feels though when we're because we've been on a roll lately. We've been on a roll with the show, with our social media. We've been really at it. So I think that probably adds to the like distance making the heart grow fonder situation.
No.
Oh. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode, what is this, 94 of Restitching the Tapestry.
That was such a
Inch,
good year too.
right. 94. The Lion King came out that year. Oh my goodness.
That was like the height of Nirvana. I think that was the year that Kurt Cobain died, in fact, I think if I remember correctly.
I
That
think
was like the
so.
very end of Nirvana. It's like super, super good year, super sad year. But like
Right.
I think was it 96 was Woodstock, but I think that there was like some really good music festivals in
Was it
94.
was it 96 or 98? I can't remember, one of the two. But the nice thing is that we are inching ever so closely to episode 100. And we're getting really excited about that because obviously that's a huge milestone for our show, which
Mhm.
feels like we started it feels like we started it yesterday, but it also feels like we've been doing this like
A million
for
years.
7 seasons, right? But, hey, we're having fun. That's what matters, right?
I feel like
So,
we've evolved a lot since the
oh
beginning.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Because I think at the beginning we just really felt the need to talk just about like politics and like social events and stuff like that. But
As we
now
talk about a social issue in
right,
this
that's true. Well, yeah, that's true. But like we can still do that, but now we're comfortable enough and confident enough to have fun while we do
Mhm.
it,
That's
right?
true.
Which is important, right? Because if we're talking about something heavy, we want to be able to try to make things lighthearted for the sake of mental health, right?
Right.
So Arpy's here so far, and Arpy's excited about episode 102.
Oh my
Yay!
goodness. I would get balloons like I did in episode 50, but did you hear about can I tell you a fun fact about helium? We are running out of helium
Please.
globally. We're running
What? Really?
Yes, there is a shortage of helium and that we are going to run out of helium within our lifetime. Like helium is going to not exist anymore within our lifetime.
That's kind of wild when you think about it. And it's
Yes.
just simply because of the consumption of it, right?
Right, because we use it for fuel, we use it for rockets, we use it like I was talking to the cashier at Dollar Tree, and she's like, hospitals get first priority of helium, and like the fact that like we're using them for balloons is like wild.
Do you know what I love? The fact that this was a Dollar Tree conversation with the cashier. That's
Yes.
iconic. That
Well,
is
because
iconic.
somebody was in front of me was buying a balloon, and I was like, because I heard it on TikTok, and we were like talking about it, and I was like, I don't understand why people even buy balloons anymore because it's like it's
Right.
it's so it's so rare. And did you know that when helium gets expelled from like a balloon, it goes right into outer space and it's gone forever. Like you cannot recapture it. It's
Yeah,
just gone.
the density is lighter than our atmosphere, so it
Right.
can't contain it. That's so interesting. Speaking of things that we've heard on TikTok or just social media in general, let's congratulate Ari on hitting 1,000 followers and being able to live stream on TikTok now. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. I'm so excited. I was live earlier today. I was doing readings, and it was a lot of fun. And I met some really nice. I've been meeting some really nice people, and I have a lot of really nice followers who are friends. I'm friends with these people. With the people that I have followed, they're really nice people. So I'm just really excited. I'm really happy. I was like I had a goal of reaching 1,000 and I reached it.
That's so cool. You manifested that. And we're planning on eventually doing live streams together over there. Not like anything as probably formal as we do here, but like poetry, readings, conversation, etc. Speaking of TikTok, I also just had a video blow up on TikTok too. Like
Heck yeah, you did.
it was
10,000?
it was my moment to shine. Because there was this TikToker who like made a video where he was like,
Johnny Cheese, yeah.
yeah,
And
he
you
was like
responded.
it was like stitch this with, a musician or band who you think their most popular song, like, does it represent their music? And I was like, Evanescence, here's my TED Talk dissertation on why I think Evanescence's discography should be explored beyond Bring Me to Life.
You brought
Anyway,
the thunder. It was viral worthy, and you definitely made it. You were
dare I
like,
say, the response to it brought me to life.
no, it was like, it's like, I feel like there's a TikTok like trend, like Stitch, like if there's something you could talk about 40 minutes without preparing first, like a whole full presentation. I feel like you are a person who could talk about like
Oh,
Evanescence like 40 minutes without.
Evanescence, Godzilla. Oh my God.
Yes, you could.
Chapter 1. Ready, go. Okay, so all joking aside, how has your week been going?
It's been a weird week. I feel like I've been wanting to get like a whole bunch of stuff done, and I feel like I have gotten stuff done, but I feel like this week has just kind of like sort of happened, and it's just like things have happened around me, but like I don't know. I started a workout program, and it sucks. I hate it.
Oh,
Um, I did a whole bunch of squats, and then I walked in these. I'm wearing heels today. Let me show you my heels.
oh yeah, Ari needs to show the. Oh, I thought you were going to show the entire outfit,
Look at
but the
these heels I'm wearing.
heels.
Look at these heels I'm wearing. I wore these heels out, and I was walking around in these heels after I did like sumo squats, which I don't know if you know about sumo squats. You stand wide and then you go deep. And I did like 45 of those.
I would die.
I died. I'm
Squats are
in
the
so much.
worst.
And then today this workout program wanted me to do three different types of push-ups. And I was like, I can't even do one push-up. Like you want me to do three different types of push-ups. Like I can't do one push-up at all. Like this is not the program for
What's
me.
a
Like
what's a push up?
I was like, I need a
Oh my
beginner program. Like
God.
and it asked me to use like all this kind of equipment, and it's like this is supposed to be an in-house beginner workout program. Like this is not the program for me. I was like, I need something else. I need to figure something else out because this is not
Yeah.
working. And I spent money on this program. I was super. Mm, mm.
I'm
So
sorry about that.
I'm a little bit of an angry bean.
I'm an angry. Well, for me this week, I'm just a tired creature because there's meetings and just a lot of stuff going on this week. I have been writing though.
I
I
know
wrote,
you wrote so much. You wrote like 5 poems in a day.
which for me, we all know is mind-boggling because normally I can get away with like maybe doing one a day if I'm on like if I'm on October roll, I can do one a day. But the fact that I did 5 in a day, mind blowing, like mind
That
blowing.
sonnet was super nice, though. I was like very impressed by your sonnet.
Oh, thank you. I was really impressed by all the ones that you've been doing lately because you've also been doing like the audio recordings, like of you performing the poems, which to me, I love listening while reading it. It's stunning.
I feel like the audio is really dorky. Like I feel like because I hate the way that my voice sounds. So I like listen to it and I'm like, does that sound okay? And then I like post it and I'm like, and like you've been telling me like, oh, I'm obsessed, and I'm like, oh, but that's just you saying it. I don't know.
No, when I am obsessed, you know I get obsessed. An obsessive creature too.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately though, we've been like I feel like so far this has been the most successful October because so many people are participating, and I do think that we're all having fun doing it, which makes me
It's
super happy.
true.
So,
I was surprised because I'm like, usually it's just you and I doing it, and it's like
right,
we have a lot of fun just like, giggling and like writing our little poems,
right.
whatever. But I'm like, wow, there's at least 4 or 5 people doing it this year.
I
And
think
I'm
doing
like,
the prompts helped, like
mm,
creating like the themes. I was like, I'm gonna just do that because it might be easier for me too. Who knows? So,
right.
but well, let's do our current event snapshot really quick. So obviously, and I'm gonna be very quick with this because last time I talked for like 20 minutes about this. So obviously tensions are still rising with Ukraine and Russia.
Did
There's
you
been
hear
a
the bridge blew up? And
yeah, the Ukrainians blew up the bridge to Chechnya, and
Mhm.
then Russia retaliated by missile like shooting missiles at like various targets in cities and stuff like that. And of course there's like this continuing threatening nuclear specter that's overhead, which is not super fun, of course. In other news, Kanye West has been, of course,
Being anti-Semitic.
being his usual problematic self, yeah, by being anti-Semitic, fat phobic, just being completely unhinged, and it's been getting a lot of media coverage lately.
I just
So
he's just having a manic episode again, and he's like, I'm not saying that like people who are doing this sort of thing are manic, but this is just Kanye West behavior. He says things that are outrageous, and it's because first of all, he's just a terrible human being in general, but like it's just that he's having an episode and he's
mhm,
displaying this behavior because he's having a height of an episode. And I'm not saying all people who have manic episodes display this kind of behavior, but what I'm
mhm,
saying is that he displays this sort of behavior when he is having an episode. And it's
yeah,
like he does outrageous behavior when he has episodes. And it's like this is just him when he is having um unfocused behavior. He has unfocused erratic
mhm,
behavior when he is unmedicated and he has no support system. And this is just it. Like people think, oh yeah, Kanye is going to create an album and he's going to create this great album and he's so creative.
mhm,
And it's like, no, this is the reality, is that he does things that are bad for his mental health. And some of the things that he says is that he says things that are a media circus and that are terrible, horrible things that should not be, that are embarrassing and horrible. And it's like this is the reality, is that he says things that are out of pocket.
just problematic, yeah, and just random, yeah. So that's been that. So
And
a
I
lot
feel
of
really horrible because he might be really embarrassed about those if he were in a different frame of mind.
right, yeah, that's true. Oh, and
Maybe
then
not. Maybe
another.
not though. Maybe he stands by those.
Well, and I have this vague memory of him like also refusing to get help,
He
like
does. He does refuse to get
refusing.
help because he thinks it tampers his creativity.
Yeah. So, oh, and I also heard in the news that former President Trump was there. He's going to be subpoenaed by the January 6th committee to testify about those events last year. So I thought that was an interesting.
I was talking with my mom about this, and I asked my mom if she thought that he would be, because my mom follows all of this stuff. My mom is like super, super involved in the politics of like
Right.
Donald Trump and all of that. And I said, Mom, do you think Donald Trump's going to go to jail eventually? She said, no. She said, I only think that they're doing this because I think that they're trying to make it so that he can't run for president ever again. And they're doing this now because it's coming up on election time. What do you think?
Hmm.
What do you think, Donnie?
Well, I obviously personally think that what they've been doing with the committee has been justified because obviously what happened that day was incredibly problematic and could have been stopped. And it's also very terrifying. So do I think somebody who's done that should run for office again? In my opinion, no. Hell no. What about you? What do you think?
Um, it was my hope that maybe there would be actual consequences, more than just not being able to run for president
Right.
again,
Yeah.
but that there was treason, that that he
Yeah.
was that he was actually going to get like real life consequences for his actions. But because all of his cronies, all of the people surrounding him are in jail, and that, but I don't know. But does it send a message? I, I don't know.
I mean, that's a valid question to ask. It's a valid question. Maybe we'll talk more about this in a future episode too, because I mean, obviously, this has been escalating over time too.
Mhm.
So, all right, so let's go over the show mission statement and then we'll start talking about coming out part 2. We live in a dynamic society where social media shapes us by creating greater opportunities for connection. It has led to a developing understanding of the adversity many marginalized communities face, the powers causing the adversity, and those who act as bystanders as atrocities take place in real time. Our goal with this show is to make connections and have challenging conversations about social topics, current events, pop culture, and art. Together, let's weave the threads of understanding with what privilege we have in order to learn, educate, and create in a world that's growing. So, rewind back to episode 54. A year ago, I think it was around this time of year, a year ago. So we did our part 1 episode of coming out, and we just wanted to talk about like the significance of coming out, because I mean, this is October is LGBTQ plus awareness month or history month, and National Coming Out Day is a pretty crucial part of that celebration, and it's been celebrated since 1988, right?
Mhm.
um so with that being said, like, um let's reflect a little bit on what coming out has done for us personally, because I think it's interesting to kind of like look at where we've been versus where we are now.
Um, I kind of snuck out of the closet.
uh, uh, oh, I ripped the door down.
No, yeah, I'd like.
I didn't rip the door down.
I didn't. It's not like I really came out of the closet as much as I like dipped my toes into the pool of gayness, and then I just kind of like loosened my way into it.
I dipped my toes into the pool of gayness. It's like my favorite quote now.
It's like it's because my mom gave me such a hard time. There was, I hate to quote TikTok all the time, but it's like, there was a joke about fruit that like there was this woman was saying, it's like a mom, and she's like, "Oh, I got fruit salad for you, and I made sure there was no pineapple in it." And the POV is, but you actually do like pineapple. You actually learned to like pineapple. And she's like, and then she pulls out her notebook and she says, "You said at this party 5 years ago that you didn't like pineapple." And it's like, and when I told my mom that I was bisexual, she's like, "You told me once that you were not bisexual." And so like that's kind of like why I had to like dip my toes into gayness, is because she once straight up told me like, are you bi? Are you gay? And I said no. I told her straight up like, no, I'm not. I'm not gay. I don't like women. And so it's sort of like it sort of did feel like I had been lying. Like,
I mean, I
so
think you also had like a pressure to do so, though.
it was sort of like she
Yeah,
had been pressuring me back into being like straight, you know?
right,
So it was sort of like I had to like dip my toes into like, and it was sort of like I had to defend myself in some way that like, that I had like changed my mind in some kind of way. But there
right.
was this pressure to be, because like all my life, my mom had told me never date a black man because it's too hard, and never be gay because you're going to be ostracized, and that people are going to, it's a hard life, Ari. It's a hard life. And nobody ever asks to be this life, and nobody ever wants this life. And don't you ever not want to be that life, because it's so hard and it's much easier to be straight.
See, when people say that though, it makes me wonder, like, is that a disguise for some other real feeling about like the identity, you know? And I've noticed that bisexual people are often the recipients of this type of response to, like, well, you told me this one time, from what I've heard. Because like, even from within the gay community, I feel like bisexual people are often ostracized because people make them out to be like, well, you
Because it's
just
much
want
easier to
everything.
like fit into that mold of, well, if you like a certain type of person, if you like a male and you can fit into this mold of heterosexuality, like you can, it's so pretty and nice and neat and packaged.
Right.
And then if you like women, it's like that makes you gay, and then you're not fitting into that heterosexual mold anymore. You're
Mhm.
gay, and then you're not pretty and heterosexual anymore.
Right,
And
yeah.
that's why bisexuals tend, and lesbians don't like dating bisexuals, because it threatens their lesbianism, because they're attracted to women and they're afraid that this lesbian, this woman is going to leave them for a man, and there's a little bit of ego involved with that too.
Right.
But there's this weird mathism that lesbians will date straight women who are not
Right, yeah.
attracted to. It's like, how does that work?
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah. Amy Lee Forever's here, hello. Do you guys think that straight people are really straight, or are they just suppressing it? I do feel like sexual identity is fluid, and I think that it's like a spectrum, right? Like, I feel like depending on, like, everybody's attractions are different, and that can, shift. Amy Lee Forever also says, I actually got more hate from the lesbian community than the straight community.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Like and I'm going to be very frank with myself in saying this, but when I was in college, like early college, before I educated myself, I was semi-biphobic because I had a bad dating experience with one bisexual guy. And I kind of gotten in my mind that, like, oh, well, this is how all bisexual people are. And then one of my bisexual friends at the time was just like, Donnie, like that's not. And of course, like for me, I was just like, oh wow, like I really was projecting my feelings on an entire group of people and overgeneralizing, right? That like that it was biphobic. So I think that a lot of people in the LGBTQ plus community who do have privilege need to unlearn a lot of different phobias. There are a lot of, you know, LGBT or LGB people who are transphobic,
Yeah.
where like there needs to be a lot of like unlearning of this conditioning, right?
One thing I'm really trying to learn right now is that I don't owe people androgyny. Like, I'm dressed very femme right now. I'm kind of
Mhm.
going through a femme phase right now, where it's okay to show off my femininity, but I'm still non-binary,
Mhm.
and that I don't owe people my androgyny. Um, it's very difficult because I get she her a lot. I get that a
Right.
lot. Um, and that there's a lot of problems with that I get very labeled as a woman when I dress very femme. I still will get she her even when I dress very masculine and manly. I'm thinking about getting a binder to like bind up, because I have bazungas. I have the boobies. I've got the watermelons. I've got the boobies.
Oh my goodness.
So I got so when I put down the boobies, when the boobies go away, I feel like I'm much less likely. But that's why I cut my hair, is that even when I cut my hair, even when I do the masculine thing, I still lady, still she, her, still all of
Right.
that. So it's very difficult. Like I thought of, I have a button that says they, them, but then people don't know how to refer to me, because it's like, sir, ma'am. It's like, how do you refer to somebody? And it's like, it's very difficult in social settings, and I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable.
Well, no,
But
I think a lot of it just has to do with just learning and reconditioning, right? Like it's linguistic, right? Like I always tell people, like, if you struggle with pronouns, refer to the individual's name, like refer to them by name, or acknowledge the fact that pronouns like they and them can be used as singular, and they have been historically in the English language been used to identify individuals in a singular fashion. So,
yeah, I think
and
just saying hello is just nice too. Like, you don't have to say hello, sir, hello, ma'am. You can just
oh
say
yeah,
hello. Like,
yeah. See, like my big thing, that because I've been trying to like monitor my language use, especially working with students, like one of my things is, I like, if I'm talking to a class, I'll say like, hey guys, like I'll just say that, like without really thinking that the the actual meaning of like what a person could hear when I say hey guys, right?
yeah.
So now I just say hey everyone, or like hi all, or um to that effect.
It's
Yeah.
so funny that, like, the South has so many problems, but, like, "Hey, y'all" is so gender neutral,
It
and it's
is.
like the one good thing that comes out of the South is "Hey, y'all."
Right. So I do want to catch up on some of the comments here as well. Um, let's see. Many think of us as indecisive, where it's really not about gender at all. It's about the person. Well, for me, right? Yeah. Let's see. Lagiacris is here. Hello, Lagiacris. Better late than never. Amy Lee says, does it bother you a lot getting wrong pronouns, and why?
It doesn't bother me getting wrong pronouns. It doesn't bother me all the time, because I do acknowledge that, you know, that I don't have my pronouns just like on display all the time,
Mhm.
and that, I don't, like, people don't walk around like knowing all of my pronouns all the time, and it's like, if somebody just walks up to me and they go, hello, like, they're not going to automatically assume. And I don't always just like walk around. I don't have the emotional energy to just, I mentioned this the last time we did this podcast with it, that I don't have the emotional energy to just automatically correct people.
Right.
It's where you put your emotional energy in things. So it's like, if I had that button, it would be a slap in the face if they did. And so I'm working up to being more presenting of non-binary, where I actually like wear the button and I say I am non-binary.
Mhm.
I have, since the last podcast, changed my driver's license, so I have non-binary written on my driver's license. So
Oh,
I,
that's amazing.
yeah,
And that's a pretty recent thing in the state of Michigan too, where they provided that
yeah.
criteria.
They gave me weird looks when I asked about it too, and I was like, change my driver's license. And I said, is non-binary an option? And they said yes. And I said, I want to change it. And they said, okay. And they were like, the lady was like, it's an option. And I said, change it.
Well, like, I don't understand why that face would even be necessary. But like, that could be somebody who harbors a certain degree of phobia. You never
I
know.
don't know. It was a thing. But
Okay, so I'm gonna go on a rant here. Are you ready for that? Are you ready for a
yes,
rant? So,
let
okay.
me drink my water. It's my tea.
It's your tea. So, okay, October 11th is National Coming Out Day. And like I mentioned earlier in the episode, it has been celebrated since 1988. Nothing new. The holiday is as old as I am. Okay. Um, and I was on Facebook the other day and a local news station posted about it, which was phenomenal. Like, I was just like, wow, that's great. Like, yes, let's continue celebrating National Coming Out Day. And of course, I made the mistake of reading the comments. Why, Donnie? Why would you read the comments? But I did. And of course, they were terrible. Like a lot of like religious extremism, a lot of like
The road to hell
homophobia.
is paved by comments.
Oh yeah. So of course, like I decided to be petty and I posted a comment. I was just like, coming out day was so instrumental for me when I was in college, etc. And it was because I remember our college, like because we went to Central Michigan University, like it would like they would do like an entire week dedicated to coming out. They would do like a coming out open mic night. They would do like a drag show. They would do like contests and stuff like that. And one of my first exposures to the coming out story was attending one of these nights, and it actually empowered me at a certain point to actually come out with my story and even share it at an event like that.
Mhm.
But I mean, that was after I was Cliff Notes version outed by somebody who knew me, and it was a mess. And I've talked about it before. It was a mess. But and of course, like everybody in these comments, they were just like, I like, oh, like the gays need something else. Like, oh, they get a whole month. Why? My biggest pet peeve. I'm going on a tangent. Somebody like commented like, oh, I love that gays can get a whole month on this day, but the military gets like one day, not realizing that
They get 2 days.
they get the entire month of May is actually military appreciation month, and there's actually like a dozen different days. So I'm just like why is that the point of comparison all the time? Like you measure people's worth by making that juxtaposition, like so. But that was, of course, there were other people making really bad comments, which I won't even repeat here because they were
Plus,
particularly
I mean, if
triggering.
you think about it, we spend how much in the military budget every year, and we've been at war for about 20 years. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how much do we really give credence to the military? I mean, let's. I mean, how much money do gay people get from the U.S. government? In all
Well,
honesty,
and then people don't realize, hey, there are LGBTQ plus people in the military too. So right. Amy Lee Forever says, I mean, if people say something out of ignorance, it's okay. But if they say something out of malice, I guess it would be hurtful. Well, yeah, there are different intentions. Like if people, it really depends on how they respond to also being educated. Because some people, when you know, draw attention to something they've said, they can either react well and be like, oh, okay, right, or they can react in a retaliatory way and be terrible. So in case in point, like I learned my lesson a long time ago that you don't want to get in fights with people in comment sections of local news stations because they are going to be saying some horrible things
it's
regardless.
it's like playing chess with the pigeon. They're just gonna shit on the board, and they're gonna knock all the pieces over, and then you're just gonna end up upset with a shitty pigeon board, and they're gonna fly off, and then you're just gonna be stuck there with a shitty pigeon board, and you're gonna have to clean it up, and you're just gonna be stuck there going, "Why did I play pigeon chess with a pigeon? Why did I do this? Why did I put myself through this? I have to get some Kleenex now. I hope I have Bounty paper towels, the good kind."
No, not the shitty pigeon. I don't know why that broke me. Just oh, whew.
This was a terrible, terrible idea. This is a terrible idea.
Shitty pigeon board. Okay, I'm done. Whew, okay.
Cool, cool.
Where I'm sorry, everyone. Oh,
Sorry,
I'm
that was
crying.
saying something very homophobic.
Ooh. I don't know what this wheezy thing is I'm doing right now, but it needs to stop. Okay. Amy Lee River says, imagine having a Thanksgiving day. Iconic. Like literally iconic.
Nice.
And RP says that was a record for my snorting. I probably was. Or you really got a snort out of me today. So okay, so why is adhering to celebrating coming out day so important in your opinion?
I think that we live in a country that it's still, we have the Don't Say Gay bill. We have it. I still feel like we live in a country where being gay and having this lifestyle, where we live as people who have this sexuality, it's considered offensive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's still unsafe for a lot of people in the LGBTQ plus community.
Being trans is unsafe.
Yeah, being trans and non-binary can be very unsafe depending on where you are in the country. And I've always viewed storytelling as being significant because that's how we show ourselves our survival, but it's how we also act as that representation for other people who might need to see our survival, right? That's why I think the coming out story is so important, because it is a literal act of survival. And it's periodically I will even see some people in the LGBTQ plus community be like, well, like, why do we make such a big deal about coming out these days? Like, I wish we lived in a time where we didn't even have to worry about it. Ideally, I think everyone would love to live in a time where we did not have to worry about the act of coming out. But we are certainly not at that time yet. we are like you were just saying, like we are seeing we are seeing these don't say gay bills, so on and so forth, and that itself
And if I
just
could
is a gauge of
skip
the climate.
around, honestly, I'm skipping down to one of our questions. I think that it's because we live in the West, but there are other countries where it's still illegal to be gay. There
Oh yeah,
are countries in Africa, there are countries in the Middle East, there are countries in uh, Asia, that it is punishable. It is
oh yeah.
punishable to be gay. So
Hmm.
for us in the West, when we show our coming out stories, when we show that light in the darkness of the world, it's okay to be gay. When we show those stories, when we put these things out on the internet, when we show these to the world, we are showing a light in the darkness to the whole of the world.
Yeah,
So it may not show, it may be like really blasé to the West, but there's somebody out there, thousands and thousands and thousands, halfway across the world, that is seeing that video and going, I wish that were me. I wish I could come
yeah,
out right now. I wish that I could say my story and say my truth right now, but I can't, because if I came out right now, I would be killed.
right.
And like, I don't think that people realize the power of that story, that it makes them feel not alone in the
It is,
darkness.
yeah.
And I
It's
don't
so
think that
true.
I don't think that they realize the power of the story, that it makes people who are in the darkness not feel alone. And so when we normalize these things, it makes people who are in places where it is considered highly irregular, highly abnormal, feel less alone.
Yeah, and like I think you put that very poignantly. The fact that I think a lot of people outside of the LGBTQ plus community don't realize that really, like, not, I mean, obviously the bullying and the, phobias are horrible, but the other impact that's horrible is just the complete isolation. like living like in a rural area where you don't have access to resources or you don't see representation like that, like it's very heavy, it's very defeating a lot of the time. And I remember experiencing that myself before I went to college. Like being able to go to college like just completely opened up my experiences and my eyes and made me feel some sort of sense of connection. Yeah. So what is it like for young people trying to come out today? Like, has it
So
gotten better?
so I don't want to. Okay. So I have a story. I don't know if I should necessarily talk about this, but my nephew, I don't know if my family's going to see this, but let me talk about my nephew for a brief moment. Because my nephew is, I'm not sure what he is, but he has stuff, and I'm not sure. But I don't know if he's come out. He said he was bi, but it was sort of like he was exploring. He was
Mhm.
exploring. And again, my mom is not very
Accepting.
accepting.
Yeah.
So he was starting to do, and there was a thought that maybe he might be trans because he was exploring clothing.
Mhm.
He was starting to wear women's undergarments. And I was like, cool,
Mhm.
whatever. And my mom said, not in my house.
Mm.
And she basically said, not till you're 18, not till you're out of my house. Nope, nope.
Yikes. Yikes. Ooh.
And he wanted to wear girl clothes. And she was like, nope, 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 not at all. Not that, not, nope, 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 nope. And so he has to dress like a boy and live like a boy.
That's sad. That's very unfortunate.
And
And
so,
and I can imagine it might be difficult for you to watch this too, because like as family, like what can you do? Like what like how much does how much do you have sway over somebody being like that to someone else, right? Yeah, I feel like yeah. Ooh.
and what's really interesting, so it's like, I feel, and like, I don't want to like out him or anything, but it's like, it's like, I feel really bad because it's like, I want him to be himself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you would think that your family would also be putting two and two together, right? I mean, one would think. Granted, I always used to say, like, I don't know how my parents didn't get the fact that I was gay. I was walking around with a sweater on my head pretending I had hair. And they were like, we had no idea. What?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just, and maybe I shouldn't be talking about this because it's not my story to tell, but like, I don't know. I just feel for him. I just want him to be happy. I
No,
just,
and
and like
someday,
I just want him to figure it out, and like maybe he'll figure it out on his own someday, but like
right.
he shouldn't have to wait until he's out of the house to figure it out, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree. And I don't think that you are telling his story for him, because when he does, like, because his story, like, I mean, it has a lot more chapters to it. And I think when ready, he will definitely tell his story. But that's not to say that we can't look at the experiences that other people go through and observe them and create commentary based on what we're learning from from those things we're observing, you know. Um, let's see. Amy Lee Forever says it's interesting how sexual orientation and gender identity sometimes go hand in hand. Yeah. Arpy says that's really sad. And then Amy Lee Forever says if someone is still finding him or herself, how difficult is that process if you can't express anything at home? It's true. Yeah. And in my privilege, like I can't understand the added layer of like gender identity expression, you know, like that has such a significance for individuals, you know.
Well, I think the reasoning behind it was the reason why they wanted to wait until he was old enough is because they said that they didn't want him getting beat up at school. That was the reasoning.
I mean, I like I guess coming from like a parental or from a parental perspective, I get that, but while you are protecting somebody from that, you could also be limiting them and harming in another way, you know?
Right.
Like so and then whenever I see that perspective, my immediate question is that really what the concern is, or is that a
Again, it's
facade?
that same thing that she said to me is like being gay is really hard. It's a hard life. Do you really want to choose that life?
It's like if we like
And it's like it's not a choice. It's not a choice.
yeah, like of course I would have chosen otherwise. Like I would have opted to not get beat up at school all the time. I would have opted to not be bullied and publicly humiliated regularly. But like if I were to just delete myself, a crucial aspect of myself, like I would be a hollow
It's how my
shell.
mom wanted me to fit into this little heterosexual box and like just date nice boys. Just date boys.
Right. Oh my goodness. Oh. So, let's see. Arby found out today that one of your coworkers is gay and trans. Wow. Lagiaker says, one of my older cousins is gay, but I didn't know for the longest time, and I still don't know how his parents reacted to it. I know his sister was cool with it. That's good that his sister was cool with it.
But I can't imagine that it's really easy with the Don't Say Gay bill because you can't talk about being gay. You can't talk
Oh
about
yeah.
being
Well, especially like because a lot of LGBTQ plus people like their first support network is often people at school, especially their teachers. So now like there are situations where teachers could face legal ramifications from parents if their child comes out to them, and you know, like it's really unsettling, you know. And the fact that those types of things still are existing at this time, like I think that's why now, especially now, we need to acknowledge LGBTQ plus History Month and and National Coming Out Day, and have these things for people where they can openly express themselves, right? What is it like on social media trying to be so vulnerable? Is there backlash with hate comments and online bullying? Oh yeah.
I just posted a video about this.
Go. Your video was amazing and so well articulated. Go check that out, everyone. But like, yeah, like yeah, I still get hate comments all the
Um,
time.
I haven't got anything about being gay because I haven't really talked about being gay online. I haven't talked about being non-binary online.
Yeah, I
So
mean, a hate comment's a hate comment though, regardless of now. Like, I often will get hate comments with regard to my voice, like because like I know I used to get really offended. People would be like, "You sound like a girl." Like I'd get so offended over that, but now I'm like, why am I so offended over that? Like what? Like
because
what?
like, is it so bad that I sound like feminine, like
Yeah,
feminine?
like what? Like what's wrong with that? So like obviously, now that I've grown and I've dealt with my fair share of haters, like I've gotten to the point where comments don't carry the weight that they used to with me. I'm more worried about other people who see those comments who might take it to heart themselves. Like if I were a 16-year-old LGBTQ plus person who wasn't out, and I looked at comments and saw another LGBTQ plus person having hate comments thrown at them all the time, like I would take those hate comments and internalize them too, you know. um so like I do think that while I think there's more outlets now for LGBTQ plus people, I feel like hate comments and bullying still is are both pretty prevalent, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
like,
and I was talking about I'm not on Twitter very often, but I see a lot of trans hate on Twitter. Twitter is like the worst for trans hate.
oh yeah,
And
oh
then
yeah,
then the trans hate queen herself, J.K. Rowling, is on Twitter, and she just tweets from her castle of sludge.
God. She's basically
I don't know if I should
Sauron.
invoke that name.
There's a Sauron of transphobia is, oh, I should say Voldemort, right? Mm,
She shall not be named.
gosh. So, let's see. Lakiakra says, my family is of Mexican descent, so I'm not sure if it's harder for us than for white people.
It's
You know,
probably
that's an,
harder.
I
It's
would say
probably
it's, I do think there are from, because I kind of explored this a little bit when I was majoring and I double majored in anthropology. Um, and there were statistics with regard to it being more difficult in Hispanic families because there are different kind of like different standards for like masculinity and femininity. Um, and those who don't fit within those binaries are often like subject to a lot of like, let's just say, not good behaviors. So RP's coworkers folks don't accept him. That's sad. Emily Forever says, my dad was always, I wish she was gay. All these boys are just no good. So in college, I remember one girl walking towards me and smiling, and butterflies hit me. First thing I thought, oh, dad will love this.
making dad proud.
Don't get me started with Darth Rowling. I know. She was not. Watch, we're going to get all like the Rowling apologists attacking us now. Oh, well.
What's really funny is I have a Harry Potter tattoo, but not because I like J.K. Rowling, but because it was a group tattoo.
Right. Oh my God. So a couple of years ago, I did a video speaking out against J.K. Rowling's transphobia, and I had so many trolls and bigots eviscerating my video. I mean, on the bright side, I did get a little virality out of that, but I had to just ignore the comments because they were like being really bad.
Man, I remember one video. Speaking of virality, remember when you had the Michigan? This is during the height of COVID. You had the Michigan people who were like during the protests.
Who were protesting at the Capitol because we were closed. Yeah. And I had a video kind of blow up over that.
Yes, you did.
And
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, every once in a while that happens, and then sometimes people, that's when all the fun people roll up to the party.
The flies come out.
The flies come out because they're attracted to the shit. Or the candy. Anyway, so let's talk about Matthew Shepard a little bit.
Again, oh, it's been another year. I was just thinking about Matthew Shepard again.
So for those of you who do not know, Matthew Shepard was a gay man who was brutally beaten and left essentially in a field in Wyoming. And he later died of his injuries resulting from a hate crime because there were, these people who just kind of lured him in and then like beat him, and then it was
tied to a fence post.
Yeah, and that happened in 1988. That's been like, how long ago was that? Like
26 years ago, 25,
something to that effect, right? And of course, like a lot of like legislation came out of that, and I remember it being on the news and everything. But
oh no, it's 30. Wait,
1998. How?
Oh, 98. 98.
Yeah, I think
I thought you said 88.
It was either 97 or 98. And see, like, stories like that are important to still tell as well, because that was an integral part of our history, because that was one of the first instances where violence and brutality against LGBTQ plus people was brought into the, you know, mainstream conversation. It's unfortunate that it had to get to that point for that conversation to take place, but
it's just like every year around October 6th, I just think about Matthew Shepard, because it's like you just don't forget people like
yeah,
Matthew
for sure.
Because I was watching the video again, and you don't forget. Like,
you don't. And it's interesting because I often think about it, because as a gay man, like, returning to my hometown, I often don't feel safe.
mm-hmm.
And I think, like, there's this, like, subliminal thought always in the back of my mind of, like, that could have been me, that could have been any of us, you know? And the fact that I think many of us still have to worry, especially people in the non-binary and trans communities, have to worry about their safety like that, we still have a long way to go, you know? So looking at the...
yeah,
go ahead.
No, you first. Go ahead with the comments.
So Amy Lee Forever says, do you remember last year when Amy from Evanescence went to that drag queen bar in New York? And there, like, that brought out a lot of the hate comments in the Evanescence community, which baffles me, considering that band has, like, one of the hugest LGBTQ plus followings. The Matthew Shepard story broke Arpy's heart. Boys Don't Cry broke Amy Lee Forever. Prayers for Bobby. Yeah, there's been... Yeah. And see, I think it's important, though, like, as sad as those, like, situations are, or those retellings are, like, it's still important to have those conversations. So let's see. Do we want to finish up by talking about that Bros movie?
It's so ridiculous. Oh my goodness.
Have you seen it?
No, I have not seen it yet. I don't know if I'm gonna see it, because, oh my god, I don't like rom-coms, and it's like, I don't know. Maybe I'll go see it.
It depends on the rom-com. Like, I'm all for more LGBTQ plus representation. So the actor Billy Eichner directed and starred in this gay rom-com called Bros, and it kind of flopped at the box office, and he kind of blamed the straight community for not coming out and supporting it, which arguably could be part of its flopping. But there's also been, like, a lot of criticism geared toward the film, because apparently, while, like, the cast is, like, all LGBTQ plus people, or mostly LGBTQ plus people, the movie, from what I've heard, takes these stereotypes and runs with them pretty significantly. I've also seen comments that there's, like, fat phobia in it, and, like, the villainization of, feminine LGBTQ plus people. So, like, I'm kind of like, do I want to see it now? Like, now that
it feels very like, we're gay, we're here, we're queer. It's very
right.
like old school kind of gay. Like, it's very Gen X gay. It feels very, you know what I mean? Like, this feels like a very Gen X gay movie. Like, very, you know what I mean? Like, this is not millennial gay. This is not Gen Z the gay. This is like Gen X gay, very like older generation gay romance, and it doesn't feel like it's geared towards me. So I feel like I'm having a hard time relating to it as far as like a rom-com goes.
Yeah.
So it's like, so the jokes just don't hit for me. Like, I just don't relate to them. Like,
even looking at, like, the cover art where it's just two dudes grabbing each other's jeaned buttocks, I'm just like, yeah, it's funny,
but it's old school gay, right? It's like,
yeah, it's like
10, 15 years ago gay.
Like Brokeback Mountain level kind of, except, like, not the tragic aspects, but like kind of like when people would just joke about it, like, oh, those are two gays,
It's like ass patty gay.
Yeah. Oh, Amy Lee Forever asks a good question. This is a good one to finish off on. What's your fave LGBTQ plus movie? Ooh.
Moonlight.
Oh, talk about that a little bit.
I love Moonlight. I've seen Moonlight like at least 3 or 4 times now, and every time I watch it, I cry because it's so beautiful.
Oh,
It's so beautiful, and it doesn't play itself off as like an LGBTQ plus movie because it's like he's dealing with all of this like racial injustice and like poverty and like the
mm,
drug being the child of a drug abuser, and so he's like dealing with all of that social stuff, but it is an LGBTQ plus movie at its heart. It is
mm.
somebody who is just wanting to be loved, and it's a romance between two men at its heart. And like that's what it really is that it was two men who started as two boys who grew up together and they just loved each other.
Oh yeah. I am blanking. I need to find it. There is a movie that came out during the pandemic that was an LGBTQ plus movie that I love. It's so sad though, but it's so good. What is it? What is it? What is it? Do. Paul Bettany stars in it. Let me find it. Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank. It's an LGBTQ plus movie that really just brings to light like a lot of like the challenges that diverse LGBTQ plus people face. Strongly recommend it. Just make sure that you are emotionally prepared. Another one for me, used to really love The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Granted, I don't know if you've ever seen it before. It's a comedy, but there's also some like problematic racist things in it that are problem. But otherwise, I would say that my all-time favorite is a musical, and it's Rent. I love
I
Rent.
mean, it's Rent. You can't
How do
hate
you not love right? So like, I mean, Rent destroys me emotionally, but hey,
Also, it's really old, but like it's still kind of a goodie. I don't know if it's necessarily LGBTQ plus, but to Wong Fu, thanks for everything, Julie Newmar. It's a
oh
good.
yes, yes, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's not technically LGBTQ plus because they're drag queens, but like it kind of lives in my heart as sort of an LGBTQ plus
Mm-hmm.
movie because it has a place for me in my.
So RP says my favorite quote is from the movie Get Real. It's only love. What's everyone so afraid of? I love that. Emily Forever says, imagine me and you, high art, bound, fire. There's many that I love. I think there are so many as well too. Like
Um,
I could do a list at some point for sure.
I feel like I need to do a list. I feel like I need to see more because I feel like I have been kind of disenfranchised from LGBTQ plus movies. I feel like my watch list has been very, very heterocentric over the years. Um, but what's another one? I always wanted to watch, but I'm a cheerleader. My sister turned me off to it. She was like, "Oh, it's a gay movie," and I was like, but I always see it on my watch list or on like for the free movies for YouTube, and I'm like, it's a gay movie and I should watch it. And I'm like, but my sister told me it was horrible. But my sister thinks all the most of the movies that I end up liking are horrible. And I'm like, I bet it's really
Your
good
sister
though.
has strong opinions. um, so honestly, I would say that I watch more LGBTQ plus television than movies.
Mm,
Like I'm gonna just throw it out there. And I've mentioned this before. Star Trek Discovery
yeah.
is so groundbreaking with regard to LGBTQ plus representation, and I love it, love it, love it. Um, what else? Like, I mean, I watched RuPaul's Drag Race. Like, that's kind of problematic in its own way, depending on the situation. But I do think that it's kind of cemented itself as a cornerstone of LGBTQ plus culture. What else TV wise? I watched Heartstopper, which is a
What's
newer.
Heartstopper?
It's like this. Eurocentric LGBTQ plus show where like two kids in like high school like fall in love with each other for the first time. And it's like a very like empowering show. Like it really focuses on the good. So like a lot of like millennial LGBTQ plus people were watching it and like getting really emotional because they had never had that like good high school experience. So like it got to me. I definitely recommend it. It's really good. Amy Lee Forever says Queer as Folk. The new one I kind of don't like. That's fair.
I heard that oh God, what's it called? Hang on. Our Flag Means Death. Heard Our Flag Means Death is a queer show.
Yep, I've heard of that one. Yep. There's so many good options out there. Honestly, we should do an episode at some point about like LGBTQ plus film and TV we've watched. I think that would be fun.
Didn't we already do that technically?
We kind of did because we did talk about representation, right? We did 2 episodes of that. So I guess we have kind of done that. We've talked about a lot about LGBTQ plus media. I mean, I'm sure we'll bring it up again eventually. That's what we do.
We should do a watch along where we watch like a show and then if we could do the copyright.
Yeah, if we could dodge YouTube's terrible copyright stuff.
We should do that on TikTok. That's what we should do because there's no copyright on TikTok.
For now, at least. We'll see what happens, right? That always creeps up. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us again tonight. We've covered a lot of ground. We talked about a lot of stuff tonight. But at the end of the day, we just really wanted to emphasize the importance of the coming out story, and that it's something that I think we should celebrate for as long as we need it, for as long as there are people out there who need that representation and that empowerment. I think that's why the coming out story is so important. Ari, do you have any final words of wisdom?
I'm coming out tonight. I want to let you know.
Perfect. We love you, everyone. Have a good night.